Now, before we start 7C, I just want to put into context the process that we're going to actually now use a shortcut to do with respect to the bigger picture of differentiating. So we're actually going to start here. We've actually seen differentiating terms involving a power of x, but we did it from first principles. Now, it could sit here, terms involving x to a power could be differentiated using differentiation from first principles. We're going to see the first of our shortcuts, easier ways to do that. Now, we'll obviously then, at some stage later, have to learn how to differentiate exponential terms. That's when terms have x as their power. We'll have to learn the technique for differentiating logs. And we'll have to learn the techniques for differentiating trig functions. So these are whole chapters by themselves. Exponential, whole chapter. Logs, a whole another chapter by itself, learning how to differentiate. And trig is the same. So back to here, this is where we are. We're just learning this shortcut method because differentiating from first principles for these particular sorts of functions is not necessary. However, any of these four techniques for differentiating that we will eventually learn, within each one, we have to obey something called the function of a function rule. We have to also obey the product rule, and we also have to obey the quotient rule. So in this chapter, it will be necessary for us to develop this shortcut and also introduce these overarching properties, rules, that won't just apply to this method of differentiating that we're going to learn, but those rules, those three rules, will also apply and must be obeyed when we move on to look at differentiation of other functions. As you can see here, I've put another tab and reproduced that diagram and put that in there for you to make reference to later rather than coming to the video. I've also added in a thing I've called a little golden book, which is just interesting for you to have a look through. I just tried to do a similar thing and show that we're going to learn about differentiation of polynomials. That's when we've got x to a power. We'll look at exponentials, logs and trigs sometime later. There are rules that you have to follow, like the product rule, the quotient rule, and the function of a function rule. And that's just there as a little golden book, and then some examples. So just to make you aware that I've added a few more tabs on this OneNote, and I'll stop this video now and call it introduction.